We're here in Amsterdam at Square 5, and the first question is always the easiest one. Could you please introduce yourself?
Hello, my name is Jeroen de Leijer. I am the CEO of BrickEX. BrickEX is short for Brick Exchange.
Sounds good. And you're based in Spain, isn't it, or you're remotely based?
We're kind of an international company. We've got a team in Singapore, LA, Amsterdam, and most of our developers are based in Alicante, Spain.
Wow. And actually, can you describe in short what actually BrickEX does?
Okay, that's obviously a very good question. Well, with BrickEX, I mean, I'm also the founder of Brick Fund, which is a crowdfunding platform for real estate. And while I was doing Brick Fund, I noticed that we had a lot of competitors, a lot of companies that were crowdfunding and tokenizing properties. But they all are more acting in silos, and they're all trying to attract and approach the same investors, and accessing the same kind of pool of money. And I was thinking about what's going to be the next step after, fractional ownership, either if it's tokenized or not tokenized. And then we're thinking of BrickEX. BrickEX is like an exchange. BrickEX doesn't buy property, but BrickEX is a facilitator for all the property funds, property fractional ownership websites that want to access liquidity and access investors on a global scale. So property funds and websites that have tokenized properties can upload their tokens, connect them to our exchange, and we make them tradable. We are a market maker. We provide access, we provide liquidity and access to a large pool of global investors.
So it's actually like a specialized exchange, and you mentioned you want to be the Binance of this kind of sector.
Exactly. We kind of, if you want to, use an analogy in crypto land, then we are the Binance of tokens that are or representation of digital shares, but then it's all about properties.
And for instance, like private investors, real estate prices gone up. So for most of them, maybe it's too hard to buy a whole house. I first go to a fund who offers this fractional real estate, and then it will be offered on your exchange.
Yeah, I mean the exchange is as well for institutional and large investors as smaller investors. So it depends on the proposition. The obvious advantage of fractional ownership is multiple fold really, but initially it is for if you imagine this building, maybe if you want to buy it and negotiate a price of maybe 80 million, but imagine if it's in 10,000 parts, then you might want to pay a premium. So the value could be for the seller 100 million, because you pay a liquidity premium. Because if you have this as a whole and you want to sell it, it's going to take months or maybe years, depending on how the housing market is. But if you have a fraction of, say, 1,000 euros or $10,000 or whatever in this building, and you want to sell it, and you go to BrickEX to sell your token or your digital share of this building, you can do it almost instantly.
So it's also focused on private investors, but small shares.
It's for private and larger investors, but we want to make real estate available for everyone. So not just that the smaller investors can only invest in that small apartment that they know in their own city, but they can also invest in like really large, cool developments that usually are worldwide. That are usually just for the bigger investors that have all the insight, knowledge and a very small knitted network.
And I mean, is it also hard to make it available for the smaller investors, or are you sort of a gatekeeper that makes it also available for these smaller ones?
Well, it's not hard, but I mean, from technology perspective, it's very easy. But because it's real estate, because it's the shares of properties that you buy, in effect, you can represent them. They are similar to securities. So if you offer securities, if you offer like an investment product to like a retail investor, to like smaller investors, then, you need to, depending on the country you market this, you have to be compliant with the local laws. So for the investor, we want to make it as easy as possible, but behind the scenes, we have to have like a battery of lawyers that make us compliant with all the local legislations. And that's one of the key assets that we will build as a company as well.
Right. Sounds good. And actually, do you issue a token yourself, like a utility token, a security token? Or?
Yeah, exactly. Well, basically on the platform there are going to be two tokens. A token that represents the ownership of the building, and we have the brick token. The brick token is is acting more like a digital currency. With the brick token, so say this building is whatever, one part is $10,000. So if you want to buy that token that's worth $10,000, you need the equivalent in brick tokens to buy it. So you cannot buy it with fiat currency. So you first have to buy the brick token, and then with the brick token, you can buy this building. But also with the brick token, you have other benefits like you can pay for platform fees, and you get some different privileges as well.
It's a utility token.
Yeah, so the brick token is a utility token, but the tokens that represent the real estate are security, and that needs to be compliant with whatever local law or whatever country that we launch the platform in.
And what kind of country are you looking for? I mean, of course, not Netherlands, but also USA is quite hard for security token. You have, of course, Switzerland, Gibraltar, Malta, but also Singapore.
Yeah, well, we have one of our key partners and co-founders are based in Singapore. But we think the European market is very important for us, and the advantage of the European market is it's 27 countries and they all use the same law. They fall in the same regulatory guidelines. So if you can have a license, say for example in Luxembourg or in the Netherlands or in another country in Europe, then you can passport it to other countries. So the European is a very important market for us, and we probably will one of the territories that we will go to market first. But the whole process of going, because we're also in the process of finishing off our platform, even though we've got demo available of our minimum viable product, but before we can really launch, it will be 6 to 9 months, and that's also the time that we will need to comply with the local regulations.
So actually, you were existing a company, so you also choose to first develop the product and then go for ICO, or you already did an ICO? Or?
Well, it's almost simultaneously. One of our technology partners is Messinas. They did an ICO in September last year, and they're building a technology for a fine art exchange. So basically what they do is they tokenize a Picasso, for example. So a lot of the technology that they use for that, we can use for the property exchange. Because all the Picassos and all the Van Goghs and Rembrandts are unique, and it's the same with property. All the properties are unique. So the technology that's behind it to tokenize those assets and then put them available on exchange, that's technology that they already have, and the
copy it.
Yeah, so the founders of Messinas is one of the companies involved as DX Markets, and they've been investing in exchange technology for the last 5 years. So we've got a big amount of technology know-how that they bring to the table to us.
Wow. Sounds good. And the ICO, can you tell something about the ICO? Is still running, like private sale, public sale, or?
Yeah, we currently are in a private sale mode. Probably the crowd sale was going to start in September. Next to the token sales, we're also doing an equity. We are talking to a few large not developers. We're also talking to real estate developers, but we're talking to a few large investors in the US, in Australia, Hong Kong, and Singapore. So I think because they can positively have benefits on each other. So if we make a lot of progress on the token sales, it will also benefit the equity raise. And if the equity raise goes well, it benefits the token sales. So it's two kind of moving bodies. But the key is, if you want to do a property exchange, you need to have liquidity, and that's why we need to raise a serious amount of money to make that actually happen. So.
What's the soft and hard cap? Can you tell something about that?
We've got a soft cap for the token on 4 million, and we've got a hard cap on $35 million.
Okay, no, I mean that's still. I mean you have some ICOs who want to raise like more than 100 million. So, and how are you going to use the money? I mean, 35 million. It still sounds a lot. So.
Yeah, of course, it's an enormous amount of money. But if you can imagine an exchange that's about property, the building that we stand in now is maybe 80 million. We're talking to hotel developers. They have properties that are 80 to 200 million. So it's a lot of money that's involved. And if you want to provide some kind of liquidity, you need to have money. So that's why the majority of the money that we raise, we're going to use for the liquidity and the oil on the exchange, and maybe a substantial portion we're going to use to finish the development and do the marketing, and also the legal compliance is a big component for the cost as well.
A few questions. Do you have maybe examples of real estate, maybe very known real estate that is already on exchange, or maybe you want on exchange? Or?
No, we don't have any because the exchange is not live, so we don't have any property there. But I think globally we're talking to dozens and dozens of real estate providers that would like to put their properties on the exchange. So in terms of supply, it's not a challenge. So and it ranges from well-known hotel chains to large office buildings and a lot of residential properties as well.
For them, there's quite some advantages actually, because the reactions are quite positive.
Yeah, and also in terms when you look at there have been quite a number of ICOs in real estate as well. But all those real estate ICOs, they focus on buying a property and tokenize it. They don't focus on the exchange. So we're trying to bring that all together. And some of those companies that already done an ICO on the real estate, they are very interested in working with us, and we have a few of them in partnership as well. So
I know Bit Property from Russia, but it's not that big. But
no, I think we've counted about 50 initiatives about tokenization and property, because property and blockchain is it's kind of a good match. Yeah. So you see a lot of activity. But a lot of them are, quite junior. We've been in, myself and my partners, we've been in business 20 to 25 years. We've built companies. So I built BrickEX from 0 to 20 million. So it's we kind of think we know what we're doing. So we're a serious team, and so we think we've got a solution here.
All right. And is it quite interesting? I mean, the blockchain space. What was actually your personal motivation to make the step?
Yeah, it's the I think mainly it's the vision that I strongly believe that all assets, all digital assets, all real estate assets are going to be digitized. I think that's inevitable in the future. The only question is when and how that's going to happen, because we strongly believe that, and there's our vision. That kind of resulted in our ambition to be one of to become one of the key players in that area.
All right. And do you do some trades yourself, or you're more of a hodler? Or?
Now, a little bit. I dab a little bit into the crypto trading, but when you look at real estate, I strongly believe that everybody should use real estate investment as part of their pension. Also, I advise to crypto traders, because we work with some junior crypto traders as a part of our team and our community. A key component to build wealth over time is if you invest in recurring revenues, and the property is a prime example of that. So if you invest in a property, every month you get return on the rental income, and the rental income, if you don't need the money, you can reinvest. And if you do that process when you start young, then over a period of 15 to 20 years, small investment will become a lot of money over 20 years, and that makes you independent of pensions provided from your local government, independent from pension funds, and it gives a lot of financial freedom when you're older. So that's what I've been doing, and that's what some of the other founders have been doing, and that's why we've got a strong feeling and love for real estate, really.
All right. So young investors, go buy a little real estate, and you can do it with this new exchange to be built. And where can they buy the tokens from September onwards?
Well, they can also join the private placement, the private sale. So you can go to BrickEX.io. So BRICKEX.io, and you can find a lot of information there. We've got some cool videos explaining what we're doing. You can download a white paper and read more information about about it. And any questions, just pop us an email.
All right. Sounds good. Thank you very much, and all the best with ICO.
Thanks a lot.
Okay. Top. Zeker.